dealers are still feeling very confident. Last year, we ended off with a sales confidence indicator at 6.1 out of 10, which itself was the year that had passed and the year ahead. January came in at 6.4%, a 0.3% increase over last year, which tells us that dealers remain very buoyed and they're feeling optimistic that 2012 will be good for them. Well, I think there are a number of reasons that they're citing for their confidence. Firstly, it still remains a buyer's market. There's no doubt that there's never been a better time to buy a car than there is today. If you consider two things, one is interest rates. Interest rates makes up a big component of the cost of buying and owning a car. Interest rates remain at an all-time low. We've never had interest rates like this for more than 30 years. And it looks like now that interest rates are going to remain low. There was some talk towards the end of last year that perhaps we would start to see interest rates increase this year or early in 2013. With what's happening in the global economy, that now looks less likely. The other thing is, of course, the price of the car. And again, last year there were some rumors that there would be substantial price increases from the manufacturers. That hasn't happened, mainly as a result of the fact that the rand has once again strengthened. So the imported inflation that we were all concerned about last year hasn't materialized, which means that car inflation is not going to be substantial this year. So the two main factors that affect how good it is to buy a new car remain very positive for the customer. And then, of course, the last thing is that there continues to be this multitude of new products that are being submitted or being presented to the market from all the manufacturers. And these factors combined are just enticing consumers to go and look and replace their cars. Well, clearly, if 6.4 out of 10 tells you that they are very optimistic, and I think they have a right to be optimistic. So, what could go wrong, I think, is the question. And I think basically there are two things that worry economists around the general economy, and those are, the one is basically an external shock. So something could go wrong in Europe. And of course, we know that Europe is right now in the midst of trying to find their way through what has arguably been the worst recession for them in their history. And no one is really quite sure whether Europe is going to survive this round of recession. If they don't, then of course that is going to impact on all economies throughout the world. And of course, we're a big exporter to Europe. We rely heavily on Europe to purchase our goods, from our agricultural goods right up to, in fact, our export of our motor cars. And that will have a really negative impact on us, and that will hurt sales. So there's the one external shock. No one quite knows what is going to happen there. And the more that this drags on, I think the more people are ignoring that threat or seeing it as a lesser threat. The second one, and probably more importantly for local economists, is the fact that the GDP in South Africa is growing by only between 2 and 3% this year, less than last year. And it's, of course, you can't have a situation where the country is only growing between 2 and 3%, yet the motor vehicle sales are growing by 16%, as we saw last year, and again by a huge number in 2012. So I think the fact that the GDP is not growing as fast as what we would all like is going to hold back sales to some degree. What we don't want is to have a bubble develop. We don't want to have a situation like we had in 2007 and 2008, where the car sales completely outstripped the growth of the economy. That created obviously quite a major bubble, and the results of that were catastrophic for everybody concerned. Again, very, very difficult. Last year, at our annual Car of the Year presentation, where we traditionally try and predict what the market will be, we were absolutely spot on last year. We came in at 15%, and the market came in, I think, at 15.4%. We were absolutely spot on. But as always, these things are difficult to predict because there are so many factors that are out of the control of South Africa that could have a material impact. So right now we are hearing that there are various predictions from as low as minus 10%, I heard yesterday, to as high as a plus 15%. So it's a very wide range of what people are thinking the market will grow. From our perspective, mainly because we believe that the growth in the GDP is definitely going to hold back demand from consumers, but also from the corporate market. So we think that a more realistic outlook for the market is probably going to be between 5% and possibly 9%. So our budgets and our forecasts are being done around those kind of growth numbers, which I think are far more realistic.